Thank y'all for being here. Good win for us on Saturday. I thought our players handled the trip well. Nebraska is one of the best venues in all of college football. Their fan base, I can't say enough about. One of the most positive environments. It's loud, really a fun place to play. A lot of credit to our staff. They had our guys ready to go. Thought we had a good plan in all three phases, and it paid off. Quick recap, all three phases. I thought special teams were the difference in the game. In a game where I thought both defenses played really well, I didn't think either offense played particularly well at all. Some of that might have been a product of good defense. I thought the special teams really provided the edge in the game for us. I'll hit the negatives first and hit the positives in all three phases. The negatives in the kicking game. We had a penalty there at the end of the game on punt that we need to get corrected. Not enough men on line of scrimmage. Didn't think our kickoff coverage was as good as it had been. It wasn't poor, but just not as good as it had been. We let one get out where we missed a couple tackles. Obviously, Rooker's fumble on the punt return didn't turn out as bad as it could have because we held them to 3 points. And then opening kickoff return, really bad decision. We brought it out, only got to the 13. We need to take a knee and take the yardage there. We got to be smarter. The positives, 0 punt return yards. Tyler Sumter named Sunbelt Special Teams Player of the Week, deservingly so. May have been our MVP of the whole game. I think he averaged 53 yards a punt. We had a punt return for a touchdown. Rooker's first in his career. We blocked really well on that. After he made the first 2 initial guys miss, and then we got some really key downfield blocks. And then we made all of our field goals in PATs, or made our field goal and all of our PATs. So defensively, our guys flew around, played with a lot of energy, a lot of emotion. I think if you play with energy and emotion defensively, it always gives you the opportunity. We hadn't done that up until Saturday afternoon, and that's the way that we've played defense around here for the last couple of years. That's the way we're going to play moving forward. So it was good to get back to playing that way. The negatives first, I thought the tempo affected us. We've got to get better. It shouldn't have. We've got to get better at that. Our communication in secondary still got to continue to get better. The positives are we had 3 takeaways, and I would argue a 4th one. I thought we were really good on third down, the best we've been on third down. Our red zone defense was really good. We put out the fire after Rooker fumbled the punt, which I think outside the punt, the initial punt of the game where Sumter flipped the field, I thought that putting out the fire after that fumble and the punt return was huge. And then we didn't allow a deep ball, which is something we'd done the first 2 games. We didn't allow any deep balls. Offensively, we found a way to win. Really a sloppy performance offensively. Penalties, we've got to do a better job. We were not good enough. The negatives, penalties, delay of game, procedures. Our quarterbacks got to manage the game better than they did on Saturday. We didn't have enough explosive plays, and we had too many negative yardage plays, 36 yards negative plays. We can't do that. We did that against Boise as well. We've got to put an end to those. The positives, we had 0 fumbles. Didn't put the ball on the ground. If we had success running the football, our run stats would have been really good versus a group that I think is going to end up having one of the better run defenses in the country if you take out the negative plays. And I thought we played much better in the second half. If you look at the drive charts in the second half, outside of that 4-minute that we completely botched, the next last drive of the game, we were really productive in the second half of that football game. I'll give you our players of the week, give these guys some notoriety. Already talked about Tyler Sumter. He was the Sunbelt Special Teams Player of the Week, critical in his performance. And then Tryon Folsom, Defensive Player of the Week in the Sunbelt, really could be the 2-time. He played really well against Florida A&M and then followed that up on Saturday versus Nebraska. I'm going to give you our in-house awards. Our special teams, after I thought Sumter would win that, so a coach and staff awarded Terrence Dunlap. He's done a great job in coverage. Sometimes it shows up in stats, sometimes it doesn't. But if you look at our punt return yardage that we've allowed so far this year, it's been really impressive. And one of the main reasons because he's the first guy down there. And the same on kickoff. He does a great job in our coverage units. Our offensive lineman of the week was J.O. Gaston. He graded than 90%. Best game he's played in his 3 years of his career here. Did a really good job against good players. The defensive player of the week, Tryon won the Sun Belt. Hunter Reese played the second best on defense. You look at his numbers, thought he was really active. did a really good job. We didn't rush him as much as we normally do. He played more of a Mike linebacker role, had a sack, had a tackle for loss. I think he had 6 or 7 tackles overall. The offensive player of the week, B.J. Smith, ran, got some tough yards, had 2 touchdowns in the game, averaged over 6 yards a carry. We need for his production to continue to increase. We need that out of the running back position, and that was really good to see. Scout team players of the week, first of all, special teams. Zoe Bridges. Zoe is sitting out this year, but he's had a great attitude and done a great job on special teams. Looking forward to getting him back for 2 more years. Offensively, a new name that you all need to know is Josh Mays from Eagles Landing in Georgia. And he's going to get an opportunity to help us on offense. He's done a great job on our special teams, true freshman. We're going to give him some opportunities this week to get in the mix at running back. A bigger kid that can do some things for us. And then the defensive scout team player of the week was Patrick Richardson, kid that's redshirting from Pensacola Catholic. Is going to be a really good football player for us. We're excited about him. He's a walk-on. He and Mays both walked on, and they're going to be major contributors here during their career. Last 2 awards, the Corey McCullers Spirit Award. This is second week in a row, and it was no contest. This guy did a tremendous job, sideline energy, and y'all, I can't state how important that is when you play on the road. You've got to bring your own energy. It'll be a huge factor this week again, and that was Hamilton Hawthorne. He did a tremendous job. And then our Nathan Harris Service Award goes to senior Gabe Hill, who got out in the community and is really giving back, especially since school started. So those are our award winners. I'll move over to ULM, give a quick preview, and then we'll open this thing up for questions. Open conference play this week at Monroe. Critical game for us. I think the schedule came out on March 1st. When it came out, and I saw that we had to go to Monroe to open up the conference slate, I knew this was going to be a critical game for us. I thought Monroe, along with Georgia Southern, would be the 2 most improved teams in our league, would make the biggest jumps from a year ago. You saw both of them playing well down the stretch last year. Matt's done a great job there. If you look at him career-wise, he's always won. You know, I thought it was a tremendous hire for them at Monroe, and he's came in and done a really good job. Long history of success at McNeese State there as well. Offensively is where it starts with them. Schematically, known their offense coordinator for a while. Matt's an offensive guy as well. They spread you out, and they're multiple in what they do, and they're difficult to defend. The quarterback, Evans, throws the ball down the field extremely well. He does a nice job running. He creates a lot of plays with his feet. The Green kid, the receiver, he and Penny Hart are probably the best receivers in the league. He's dynamic. We've got to know where he's at all the time. And then they've got an outside receiver in Turner who's made a ton of plays the last 2 years over the top, and he's a huge deep ball threat. They're big at running back. The running backs remind me of the guys that we've had here the last 2 years, Josh Anderson and Jordan Chun. They're big kids that get downhill. They're difficult to tackle, and their O-line's as good as anybody's in our league. So I think, you know, one, if not the best offensive unit in our league, right there in the top. Defensively, they've changed up their front from a year ago. I think they're a really improved unit. If you look at their stats so far through 3 games, and that's playing 2 high-level opponents in Southern Miss and in Texas A&M, their stats are definitely improved. They fly around. They play with a lot of energy. Up front, they have 2 guys, 98 and 58, that are difficult to block. I think they're really active. Second effort guys. They're linebackers. They got 2 guys that really remind me of Tron in number 14 and number 7. They're undersized, but they make a ton of plays. And then the secondary, they're going to challenge us. They're going to play man and challenge us and see if we can win. And then special teams, the key for us is we got to tackle and contain the Green kid. He's their punt returner. He's a kickoff returner. He returned 4 kicks for touchdowns last year. He was the first team all-conference kickoff returner. So a huge challenge for us to tackle him. And just wrapping it up, I think it's a huge challenge. And going on the road for your first conference game, it's difficult to win on the road. It's especially difficult to win on the road when you play in conference. And we're going to have to play our best game to get that done. So with that, I'll open up questions.
Coach, you were talking about the defense. I thought that a guy by the name of Trayvon Sanders had a whale of a game. I don't believe I've ever seen him play quite as good as he did in that ball game. Would you agree to that?
Yeah. He played extremely well down the stretch last year for us too, Ralph. but he played well. You know, he missed the Florida A&M game, wasn't 100% in the game last week. We really planned on playing him about 20 snaps. He ended up playing 45. So he was disruptive. I like the combination we have there with Travis Salo and Trayvon Sanders playing that nose. You know, I think that's going to be a good combination for us moving forward. But Trayvon was really active. He probably missed three other. He was productive, but he probably missed 3 tackles for loss that he normally would make. So I was impressed. Really bouncing back from a subpar Week 1 performance versus Boise. So it was really big for us for him to play that well.
Coach, you were kind of in this position last year. You knock off a big opponent on the road, and then you come and, you know, really not your best performance against South Alabama. Is that a teaching tool you'll use this week, or is that kind of one of those things, different team, you're not going to focus on it?
It's really – I think you learn. You're constantly learning. I think you learn as a coach. I think looking back last year, we're better prepared from a football program, athletic department standpoint to handle success now than we were a year ago. Okay, we've had a lot of media attention going on 2+ years here. We probably had more national media attention in the last 6 months than we've had ever as a program. So I think our kids understand how to handle success better. From a coaching perspective, you know, last year we had the win. You know, you could see our kids weren't handling it very well. I probably went too far overboard as far as trying to prevent really what happened. You know, probably talked about what the negative consequences were, probably too much. And that's a learning tool. You know, you sit back and reflect after every game, and that I looked at those notes earlier yesterday, and that was clear. It was like, don't repeat the same mistake. And every game's the same. So what we've done yesterday and what we're going to do today when we see our players for the first time, we're going to wrap it up no different than we did Florida A&M, and we'll move on. It won't take our guys long to get locked in on Monroe when they watch them on tape, because playing as hard as anybody we've played in my tenure here, and they're explosive on offense.
B.J. Smith has found the end zone at least once in every game this season, a breakout game this past weekend. Where do you attribute all of his success coming from, and how much more of that you want to see for the remainder of the season? Yeah,
I think good things happen to good people, and I think he's a great teammate. He's a great kid. He's all in from a program perspective. And I was proud of him on Saturday because we've seen that in practice. It hadn't necessarily shown in a game yet at the running back position. He's made a bunch of big plays for us in special teams over his first 2 years, but I was really proud of him just to see his hard work pay off, because he's worked extremely hard, and hopefully that's the confidence he needs to boost, because we really need for him to take over and be our featured back, and we need some other guys to help him, Jabir Fry being one of them. But we need for him to take over, and I think he has potential to do that, and he has to build off that performance. He does not need to take a step back.
You said arguably 4 turnovers. You did argue.
Yeah.
Would you handle that any different?
I really didn't argue that convincingly.
It didn't take long.
Nah, you know, here's what that was. Okay, and first of all, that was my mistake. I've seen it on TV. I'm still not real sure that I left the white. But anyway, it was a poor decision on my part. I really probably think I got the penalty based on the Boise State reaction more so than I did that reaction, because they watch video just like we do, and they saw that. So learning environment, defense bailed me out, so it didn't end up hurting us. So I'm waiting on. I'm waiting. I turned those 2 plays that the review that we turned. I turned them in to Steve Shaw, who's the director of our officiating, just because I want to know from a review standpoint. Not only that one, because I thought the ball was clearly out. I thought you could see on the TV copy it was clearly out. I'm not sure why it wasn't overturned. And then I really want some clarity on the dual possession when Damian and the defensive back both came down with the ball. I want some clarity on that as well.
This is really the best the defense has played all year in a hostile environment. Is this kind of what type of performance you were expecting from them all year?
Yeah, I thought we'd play like this more consistently. I've said this before. We didn't perform as well as we needed to during fall camp, and maybe part of it was on us as coaches. We maybe didn't get them as many reps, full speed reps as they needed. We've done a better job of that the last 3 weeks, so they're playing better. One performance does not make the season, though, and Boise was a tremendous challenge offensively. Monroe, in a different way, is going to be a tremendous challenge in the same right. Boise stacked everybody in and through one-on-one routes, and Max protected us. They're going to spread us out and get us in one-on-one situations where we got to cover and tackle. So there's still things we got to do better. We got to handle tempo better this week than we did last week. But I was pleased, and I say, you hear me say this: if you play with effort and emotion, or energy and emotion on defense, you got a chance. And I thought on Saturday we really flew around, and our effort overcame some of the mistakes we made.
Coach, what did Tyler Sumter eat before the game?
That's a really good question. I usually eat dinner with a specialist on Friday night. He usually eats well. Now he doesn't eat as much as he used to. All right, but he it was very similar. For you guys to follow Tyler. Tyler was the punter at Spain Park in his senior year. Spain Park, Coach Rainey there, he's done a really good job. But they beat Tyler's senior year. They beat Hoover twice, and one of the games is, I can't remember. It was either 7-6 or 7-3. And it was very similar in the fact that he was the most valuable player in that game, and I think it was the playoff game. So he has stepped up multiple times in his career, and that's what he did. And I did an interview last night, and the guy asked me what was the most critical play in the game. And anytime you win, or lose, there's always multiple critical. But I thought the most critical play in the game is we opened up, we got the ball. Okay, our kickoff return team makes a bad decision. We get out to 13. We make 2 MAs in the first 2 plays, which that's unexplainable to me. I don't get it, but that's all we're talking about. Okay, so we have to punt on 4th down, and he completely flips the field. He punts it, and it's a touchback. And now they're starting on the 25. All right, with the exact same thing happened at Boise. He hit a normal 35-yard punt. They got a short field. They score, and it's 7-0. That flipped the field. We got to stop. Then we get the ball back, and we go down, and it's 3-0, and we were able to score first. And anytime you score first in college football, you look at the percentages through the first 3 weeks, it's off the chart that you got a higher percentage to win the game. So